When Luke Campbell was elected mayor in Hull and East Yorkshire, I indicated a certain amount of positivity, and I was rebuked by some of the people in the comments for doing this. He's a Reform UK person, you should have only contempt for him. But this rare and telling phenomenon in British politics, a politician elected on one manifesto who almost immediately repudiates a central plank of that platform to promote the interests of the local people. So he seems to have put more distance between himself and Farage's net zero nihilism than indeed the Humber Bridge spans. And now Reform UK's position on climate policy couldn't be clearer if it were printed on a placard and waved about at a petrol station forecourt. It's resolutely anti-net zero. And according to the party, green energy is a con, net zero targets are unachievable, and anyone supporting renewables is either a bureaucratic stooge or a fool. Yet Campbell, standing side by side with Farage just days ago, has said in public, on record and repeatedly, that he will support the region in green energy and prioritise local jobs and businesses. He's even approved a £1.6 million bid for renewable energy projects in his first executive board meeting. So let's pause. This is not a minor policy wrinkle. This is not a disagreement about grammar in a housing pledge. This is a wholesale defection from one of the party's three foundational dogmas: anti-immigration, anti-woke, anti-net zero. Remove any one of these and you're no longer in a Reform UK world. It's no longer a Reform UK candidate. You've got an independent with a colour printer. But Campbell is no independent. He stood for office as Reform UK's chosen man, and he won quite comfortably. A former Olympian, he brought a recognisable face to a party that typically trades in recognisable fear. Yet his triumph in the ballot box now gives us a glimpse of something far more instructive than Reform UK's electoral strategy. It reveals how ungovernable the party may become. Because what binds Reform UK? It's that coherent philosophy? No, it's built not on a programme but on a protest, a shout, not a sentence. Its cohesion relies on central control. Farage calls the shots, Richard Tice nods, everyone else is meant to keep quiet and repeat the lines. That may work when you're standing outside Westminster with a megaphone, but it becomes rather more difficult when you're running a combined authority with real responsibilities of housing, transport, economic development, and yes, environmental planning. And Hull is not a neutral backdrop in this debate. The region's green energy sector, including Siemens wind turbine plant, employs thousands and is widely seen as a cornerstone of future economic growth. And to campaign against net zero in Hull is similar to campaigning against cheese in Cheddar. So when Campbell was asked whether his position on net zero contradicted Reform UK policy, he didn't bluster, he didn't equivocate. He said plainly that he would put the people of Hull and East Yorkshire before party politics. Now, we've all heard that before, but usually it's a rhetorical flourish, not a governing principle. In Campbell's case, it was followed by direct action. Not only has he voiced support for renewable energy, but he's now actively facilitating it. That is more than inconsistency, it's insubordination, and to be praised. And this matters for two reasons. First, because it exposes the limits of Reform UK's model. A party run like a franchise of Farage depends on uniformity. And now its mayors and councillors are expected to balance dogma with delivery. And where those clash, as they now do, something must give. And what seems to have given is Farage. Second, this rupture suggests that Farage's anti-zero crusade may be politically unviable beyond the confines of a GB News studio. Campbell has exposed a truth that Reform UK's leadership would rather avoid, that green energy, far from being an elite fetish, is deeply embedded in regional economies, job creation and community identity. And we shouldn't pretend that this is an isolated case. It's not. Andrea Jenkins, another Reform mayor, has also started flirting with green investment, despite sitting on the board of Net Zero Watch. a group that opposes climate science in principle. The very mayors now brought in to sing from Farage's hymn sheet are beginning to compose their own verses. So what happens now? Reform UK cannot gag its elected officials without looking like the very establishment it purports to despise. But it also cannot accommodate divergence of this level without losing the dogmatic clarity that defines it. This is the conundrum of populism when it acquires power. Slogans don't build infrastructure. Campbell, it turns out, may be less a rebel than a realist. His political instincts, shaped perhaps less by ideology and more by a boxer's footwork, tell him he must move where the jobs are, not where the slogans point. And that makes him inconsistent, but it also makes him recognisably human, and hooray! And if the party isn't careful, his inconsistency will be infectious.